Tonight, you're the talk show host. You have the chance to talk to our guest face-to-face live. It's so simple. First, log in at askthemyourself.com. Then, via Skype or FaceTime, come on camera and ask just about anything you want. Our guest tonight, if you've ever wanted to talk face-to-face with Morgan Freeman.
This is a story about a man named Brandon.
Or Christopher Walken.
Sell by, drink by, who cares?
Or William Shatner.
Why, Spock, I'm surprised you ate bread.
Or George Clooney.
This is George Clooney, Jim. I'm always watching you.
Or George W. Bush.
Comes out of the gate real strong and then slowly applies the brakes.
Or even George Washington. Well, we don't have any of them. But we do have the next best thing. He's a world-class impressionist. You've seen him in movies, TV, commercials, and now streaming on Amazon in his own series, Impress Me. He's Jim Meskimen. I'm David Levin, your host, but tonight, I'm getting out of the way, so you can ask them yourself. Okay, welcome to Ask Him Yourself. I'm David Levin, and welcome to the show. We have a great guest with us today, and today is the day that we are going to bring your calls on so you can ask him yourself, because I'm sick of asking questions, and it's all for you guys. So today I am really happy to have Jim Meskimen on with me. I'm getting a little bit of an echo, so I'm going to turn that echo off right now. There we go. How's that? Is that better, Jim? Say hello.
Very good. Hello, sir. Hello, David. Hello, everybody out there. If there's anybody out there, hello.
Welcome to the show, Jim. It's nice to have you on the show.
Really nice to be here.
So, let's see. Is anything going on? What's that?
You're in your underground lair there. I see you've got all the buttons. Have all the launch codes been inserted? Are we all ready to go?
I have the launch code. We are good to go. And this is very strange. It's hold on one second. So, Jim, first of all, I think people need to know a little bit about who you are, so I'm going to sort of give them a little bit of that.
Okay.
Okay, so Jim, you are an impressionist, a comedian, a voiceover artist, a cartoon voice guy, and you've done a gazillion things, and you just happen to be the son of Marion Ross, who was better known as Mrs. C on Happy Days.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the biological son. She has several TV sons, Ron Howard, Drew Carey, a lot of other guys have played her son. But all their characters are based on me. And every day I get a little check from all of them. My mom is Mary Ross, and it's a great. I'm a lucky guy. I'm a really super lucky guy.
You are a lucky guy. So, okay, so you are an impressionist. This is the majority of what you're currently doing. I've known you as a voiceover guy for a number of years. And as an actor, and I've seen you in a lot of movies, and I've seen you on TV, and we've seen you in commercials. So today, though, you're basically focusing on your impressions, and you're on a show called Impress Me, where you play a guy who doesn't want to be an impressionist anymore.
Yeah, that's right. A semi-autobiographical TV series called Impress Me that started off as a semi-autobiographical web series written and directed by Ben Shelton, who's a terrific filmmaker. And he started talking to me and my pal Ross Marquand, the very fine actor Ross Marquand, who is now on The Walking Dead. He plays Aaron. And we were talking to him about what we go through, because Ross is a terrific impressionist. Not everybody knows that. And but we both do impressions, but it's not what we aspire to necessarily. Maybe it's because we already do it. We aspire to be great dramatic actors, which is a higher hurdle. And so after listening to our stories and anecdotes about, people in the middle of an audition stopping and saying, "Hey, would you just do your Christopher Walken?" and other interruptions, Ben decided, hey, no, that's where there's a series there. And so he wrote the series, and now it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Impress Me. and it features a lot of really great impressionists.
Okay, now I have to say that I loved the show. I actually, when I knew that I was going to be interviewing you, I binged it. Okay, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I binged the show.
There's no shame in that. They're short episodes. They're bite-sized episodes. They're like around 20 minutes each.
They're 25 minutes, but they're
Really?
but they're worth it.
Maybe you saw the director's cut of them.
I must have seen the director's cut. Well, it's like basically it's like a regular half-hour show, and
Yeah,
there were 13 episodes.
13.
And,
Lucky 13.
Without going into, I don't want to give any spoilers. It's really compelling. I mean, it's really fun to watch. It's one of these shows that you watch it and you go, okay, I want to know what's going to happen next. You know, feels like it's like a little feel of, there's a little bit of a feel of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, for example, right? How much of it was improvised? How much of it was fully on the page?
Well, a lot of it is kind of loose, I would say, because Ben wrote it very quickly, and we got it into production very quickly, and that meant that I've never worked on a soap opera, so I'm not used to just like taking 25 pages and hammering it out for the next day. So we shot quite a bit very fast, and so a lot of it is kind of like, okay, and a lot of it too was like a first draft of the script. It was a very good first draft, but it was more like sort of like guidelines, I guess you'd say. So at the end of the day, we had to sort of pick up the general large concepts and get them up and running. But that, I think, lends a kind of a liveliness to it, kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is not.
It feels real.
Not a scripted show, particularly.
Yeah, it feels very real. I mean, it's and so the characters are based on your life, but these are not your wife and daughter playing your wife and daughter.
Right. No. We had Angela Kinsey from The Office played my wife, and she was terrific. And Amy Castle, a very talented YouTube star, played my daughter. And,
awesome.
She's about my daughter's age. And we had a lot of getting cool guest stars. Al Yankovic, Weird Al was on, and Cameron Manheim, and Brandon Routh, and Josh Groban, of all people, was on our show.
Kevin Pollak.
Kevin Pollak, the great Christopher Walken expert, Kevin Pollak. He's actually sat and talked to Christopher Walken. You know, if you've met these celebrities, you have a real edge over other impressionists. If you spend like the great Rich Little, who I hope to meet in about a month. The great Rich Little, when you see him on YouTube doing impressions, he's doing his Orson Welles, and there, sitting next to him, is Orson Welles. Or he's doing Jimmy Stewart. What's Jimmy Stewart? And that's a tremendous advantage. You understand the sense of that, don't you?
Well, I'll know about it. It's about all I do.
That's good. That's the start. That's the DNA of that impression.
You just, well, you know, it's like you get to that Jimmy Stewart moment, and all I can think of is that moment in It's a Wonderful Life where you go, I want a big one. You know, that's his moment.
A big one. Yeah, exactly.
Or last one in the mood. Okay. This is like like playing baseball with Babe Ruth. I'm not gonna do impressions with you.
Well, I think we all share an appreciation for these older, or not necessarily older, but the things that stick in our memory, and that we have a fondness for these performances.
Yeah.
And they mean something to you in the intimate way that only a work of art that you've experienced at a particular time, like the music you heard in your car when you were in high school. You know, it's just always going to have a special place for you. Some of those performances, Forrest Gump, you know, and I don't know. For me also, and maybe for you too, your audience may be a bit older, and these old movies and iconic performances, they just really, they stick in you. And you like them, you hold on to them.
It's true. It's true. One of the things that that struck me, and people say this all the time, and you do a lot of contemporary impressions. You know, George Clooney. People said for a long time, oh, the new stars have no personas, and then you guys, you know, you and Ross go on, and you're able to do people who are very current.
Yeah, Ross does a fantastic Brad Pitt, which I cannot duplicate, and he's just nailed it. And it's like, do that.
We both do John C. Reilly, but John C. Reilly's easier because he just sounds like Snagglepuss.
Yes, that's exactly right.
He's
I
just
wonder.
a
I
couple
knew
of
he
clicks
sounded
north
like
of
a cartoon
Snagglepuss.
character.
Exit stays left.
Yeah, I wonder when they reboot Snagglepuss and make it into a 3D Pixar picture. Obviously, they'll get Wreck-It Ralph to do it.
Snagglepuss was a little gay. I felt like there was a little. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but there was a little bit, kind of a, exit stage. I always wondered.
Well, he was into the musicals. So,
He was.
I mean, that's probably what you're picking up.
He was. Talk to me a little bit about when you first started doing impressions. I mean, were you a kid? Sort of walk me through the process, and when did you say, "Hey, you know what? I can make a living doing this"?
Well, it starts very gently with just a mild interest in being a kid, watching television, and wanting to make my friends react in some way. Usually, wanted to make them laugh or whatever. And I would listen to things, and I'm kind of auricularly based. I mean, I like to, when I listen to things, I like to analyze what I'm hearing, I guess. And maybe my mom, growing up with my mom, started me off on that because she would say, "Listen to that person, listen to that accent. Isn't it interesting?" And she kind of tricked me into becoming interested in life, which every parent is trying to do. Trying to get your kid interested in life. Pick up that baseball. What do you think? Throw it to me. And the baseball that she threw to me was, listen to that person and look at that personality. We had an old, she was legitimately old nanny, whose name was Connie Godby here, who took care of us, and she sounded just like Mrs. Doubtfire. And my mother would say, listen to Connie. That's an interesting. And then she would do the accent, and I would go, oh yeah, that's different. And I began to appreciate it, and it became a kind of a thing to play with. Which is always good. I mean, if you want to get a kid to do anything, you turn it into a game, or anybody. We like games. We like to play. And so I would try to imitate Connie. "Oh, Jimmy," she'd say. Oh, Jimmy, stop pulling your sister's hair now." And so then, as I grew up, I just sort of would listen, and I liked the accents. I always wanted to sound like a British person. I was one of these little kids who wanted to wear a three-piece suit. I'll bet you were the same way, David. Wanted to wear a three-piece suit and kind of have a little business and, be an adult.
Oh yeah, you got me.
Adult.
I always wanted to wear a three-piece suit. Yeah, you totally got me.
Yeah. And if I could have had a cigar, in second grade, would have been fine. Candy, cigarettes, we're all about it. So
yeah, but we were all about the candy cigarettes back then, weren't we?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be like my ability now, very, very well honed, to sound like an older British gentleman, is based on a very old purpose that I've carried for years and developed and practiced, probably more than I should have. But it's given me, the opportunity to really, hunker down and be some old British gentleman who I will never be.
Well, Jim, we actually have our first call, so I'm going to bring this person on in just a second.
I see them.
And the light went off on his. But this is Jeremy from New York, I guess. Jeremy, welcome to the show. Can you hear us?
Yeah, the last time I looked in the mirror, I was in New York.
There you go. Now I can see you. Get your face lit there. Hey, Jeremy.
So, Jeremy, what is your question for Jim?
Do you mean to tell me that I wrote in who I wanted to speak to and what the question was, and you guys have no idea what I wrote in?
We have no idea.
I know, but I'm not going to tell.
You see? I figured you knew. So basically, I'm curious about George Clooney and his house in Lake Como.
His house in Lake Como. It's a beautiful home, and you're welcome to come anytime.
Well, I was there like 3 years ago, and what I'm trying to remember was you have this big terrace. Aren't you going to be George Clooney? Am I talking to George Clooney?
You're talking to me now. Yeah, I'm George Clooney. I'm actually out. I'm inside right now. It's a little drizzly out in Lake Como.
So,
the lake is choppy today.
When I'm leaving the street with the hotels and I come to the lake, Do I go up the left side or the right side? I completely forgot. I had to go all the way
left side.
around to find the house. The left.
There are,
the left.
there are several secret entrances, and I usually go up. There's
But
a
you're
hedge,
right on
that
the-
kind of
But
a
you're
hedge
right
that
on the
flips up,
corner
kind of
of
like
the-
the Bat Cave.
You're
Go
right on
ahead.
the corner of that small town that you're in, right?
Right
yeah,
on
you
the
don't want to
corner.
give away the address at this point. I think that's what
Oh,
I'm
I
thinking.
can.
Getting
I
a little
got the
deep.
address. I'll give you the address right now. I mean, I know.
No, please. I don't need people Google mapping me.
I'll give you its cell number too. It's no problem. You
Yeah,
know?
okay.
I'm sure you won't mind changing a cell number. What the hell is it? It's not a big deal.
Names
It's not
are
like a
being
lot of people have it.
names are being dropped right and left here.
This
So
is
let's
some
talk to
very
Donald
high-tech
Trump.
heckling going on.
Can we talk to Donald Trump?
Sure, you can talk to Donald Trump, of course. Tell me a question. First of all, you're a great American, and thanks for calling in. I don't know how you managed it, but it's terrific to see you. You're looking
I'm
very
glad
good.
I
You're looking very healthy.
finally got you. I've been trying to get you on the phone, FaceTime
Well, you know,
for
it's-
years. You
I'm
know,
tremendously busy. You know that. I'm traveling a lot. I'm doing a lot of things. I tell you what I'm not doing. I'm not watching Fox News or any of that fake news stuff. I'm hunkering down. I'm trying to take care of the problems of the country. That's all. So what can I do for you? What can I do? You seem
the
intelligent.
reason
Ask
I
me as
admire
intelligent.
you
Well, I'm
so
very
much-
smart, by the way. I can answer all your questions.
I know. I admire people with great intellectual curiosity, of which I have you at the top of the list in the entire world. There is no one more intellectually curious than you, Donald.
Thank you, but you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And I in all modesty, I can say thank you for that because that's something I tell people all the time, and a lot of times people just don't believe me.
And out of everyone I've seen in my lifetime, you are by far the best looking.
Well, now it would be immodest for me to agree with you, but I'm behind you 100% on that.
Oh, come on. Immodest is not in your language. Jeremy, thank you for calling. I appreciate you calling in.
My pleasure. I'm glad to have joined the show. It's a very interesting thing to see. And David, I must say your intro and your persona is as usual on the money, and your choice of guests are unbeatable. Absolutely always the best.
We have a lot of people on.
All right, go
right
grab
now,
it.
and this is one night. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy, and we will. I look forward to you calling in again soon.
Oh, gosh, it looked like he flipped over backwards there.
Yeah, he probably did.
Yeah, he was doing a little bit there. Is that your parole officer?
That is my parole officer. He
recognized
calls in frequently, and he's good. He's good. Listen, I can do yes and with the best of them.
Yeah, and believe me, it helps in life.
Tell me about the George Washington commercial you did a while back.
So I auditioned for. Actually, I pulled this audition out of the dirt because my agents didn't contact me about it. I found out about it. They were looking for a George Washington, and I had played a kind of a George Washington character on another commercial one time. So I had a really nice picture of myself with a powdered wig. And I said, hey, not for nothing, but submit me for this thing. I'm really right for it. And they did, and I booked it. And this was like last April, so it's been about a year. And we shot the commercial, and Geico shoots all their commercials about a year in advance, or they shoot a whole year's worth, and then they kind of let them bleed out over the course of the year. So mine was among the last ones released of that period. And I really liked the way it turned out.
We've all got places to go. We've all got places to go.
And,
What I love,
improvise, and it was fun.
What I loved about it, I mean, look, you do a great Obama, you do a great George W, you're awesome. But your George Washington was so dead on. It was the closest thing I've ever heard to the actual George Washington.
I guess, I sort of channeled these old TCM movies. I pictured somebody like Louis Calhern or somebody, in this, the way the traditional old George Washington.
Yes, I'm the father of, I'm the main white man in this country right now. My teeth are killing me.
I've got termites in my teeth.
Hear it in your mind. It's just, so anyway, it went really great. People like it, and I'm glad that it's a funny commercial, not based on a joke so much, but based on character and humor, so that you can see it 20 times.
Yeah.
Which we all have to for a while, and I think it always delivers. It's always kind of funny because it's not a punchline that we need to not know is coming. It's just, you can kind of, perhaps I still have a little bit of Donald Trump's personality in me, but I think you can enjoy it over and over again.
I agree. I've watched it a few times, and I also watched your behind the scenes video that you did, and that was really awesome.
People can go to my YouTube channel if they want to see the behind the scenes and see how they put on the makeup, because I had quite a lot of prosthetic makeup.
You have a lot
big nose and cheek and a chin and a little neck waddle.
You've done a lot of, it's funny, I watch your YouTube channel quite frequently. You've done a lot of stuff. I want to share one or two things with people right now, if you don't mind.
Sure. My pleasure.
And then we'll talk about it in just a second.
Okay.
Well, I'm not seeing it. Hold on one second.
Still.
It's a still frame.
This is a story about a man named
line
Brandon.
my head up there.
Brandon had what people call a love of hiking. There was something about the great outdoors that drew Brandon and made him lose all sense of himself.
And that is you. So you picked someone out of the audience. Sort of explain what you did just then.
Yeah, I actually shoot video, landscape. Sorry, we're doing social media here. What I do is, I interview someone in the audience, and they don't know what I'm going to do with the information, right? I just go out in the audience and start talking to somebody, and I usually try to find out, like, what was your first job? What was that terrible first job you had, and where'd you go from there? And just try to get some data about their life and stuff. And then I say, thank you, Keith. That was terrific. I wonder what Keith's life would sound like if it was narrated by someone like Morgan Freeman. This is the story of Keith, a man who had a lemonade stand, but it was unusual because he just, even at age 7, he knew that people in his hometown would like a nice cold beer, whatever it was. And then kind of take the story through. And people have just heard me interview them, and the audience already has a little bit of familiarity with this guy's background, and it's always funny. It's marvelous to hear Morgan Freeman narrate somebody's life that way.
Just a normal life.
It's cool.
You also do. I mean, what strikes me, you've done a lot of these videos where you do Shakespeare, or you do something else where you go from one character to another, and you can see the transformation right before your eyes. I mean, when you go from like one character to another, to another, to another, doing the speech. First of all, you have to act and know the speech, I assume.
Yes, that's a requirement. Yeah.
And then you have to go to the actor, to the actor, to the actor. And I also...
Yeah, I love Shakespeare. And the Shakespeare piece, Shakespeare in Celebrity Voices, which has about 1.5 million views now, I think. I'd been doing it for years in front of audiences where the audience would call out the name of the celebrity and I would just change the speech as I went along. And when I did the video, I had to suddenly kind of determine what the order was going to be. And that was like a big hurdle. I was like, oh my God, what order do I put this in? And how do I remember this order and the lines? So I actually put up like little cheat sheets around to go, okay, next I go to Morgan Freeman, and then George W. Bush, and then Woody Allen, and then Colin Firth, and Ian McKellen, and on like that.
That's awesome. I am going to go right.
I love Shakespeare, and I love the fact that you can take a great piece of writing, like the Declaration of Independence, which I've also done, although I didn't memorize it, and you can take that and do it in different celebrity voices, and suddenly it takes on a different meaning. It gets real funny. It gets real random. Sometimes verses line up interestingly with a celebrity.
Do you pick the celebrity based on what the person, what the actual thing is saying?
Yeah, I do. I think, well, that'll be ironic. Like, I think I picked Ron Howard because his line contained the phrase "happy days."
Yeah.
A world of happy days. Was part of the speech. I went, oh, well, Ron should say that because I've heard him say "happy days" a few times. I think.
Once or twice.
Once or twice.
I'm gonna run another one of these. This is the Declaration, a little bit of the Declaration of Independence.
Sure.
And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer
while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government.
That is
There you
so.
go. There's Ron Howard right there.
That is so darn awesome. Now I was hoping we would have a few more callers because I was hoping you could do a little bit of a lesson. But since there are no other callers at this point, how would you feel about sort of teaching me to do someone?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. Well, you say already do Jimmy Stewart. So
A little bit. I actually do Jimmy Stewart. And you can critique me if you want. I do Jimmy Stewart, like singing a couple of songs, like
okay,
like Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. Darn it!
Well, I wonder, could your voice timbre is perfect. I think that's very good. You know, people like to hear. Sometimes it's easy to take a line that is already really well known and sort of listen to it and then try to perform that. But I mean, your voice, I think it sounds right in there. It's really a game of like how exact do you want to sound. Once you get into like a career of it, like I'm in the middle of, I'm actually in competition all the time with other actors who are trying to match very closely to an actual recording. Like when we do work for TV or for movies or something, we're trying to often replace part of an actor's performance. Like I do that all the time, and a lot of my friends do. And then it's like the caricature won't cut it. They're trying to, because you'd notice it in a movie if we suddenly, or a trailer even, if we suddenly went to, you know, like I've replaced Robert De Niro's voice sometimes in trailers because either he didn't say what they wanted him to say exactly, or the sentence was too long, or there was noise underneath it, or whatever. They wrote a new thing.
So you actually do that.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, and in Robert De Niro's case, you know, I mean, if you really were doing like a kind of a caricature, very broad Robert De Niro, something like this, you know, it would be too much. You got to figure out to do very subtle. And just make it sound natural, you know, or how he sounds in the show.
So there are the comic impressions, and then there are the sort of the realistic. I know the story goes that, well, first of all, you know, you have Rich Little who did Nixon, and then everybody didn't imitate Nixon; they imitated Rich Little imitating Nixon.
That's right. Or Johnny Carson. Do Rich Little's Johnny Carson. Terrific, you know, marvelous. He figured out that he's like a peacock, and suddenly that broke it open for everybody.
Yeah, and he's getting the little. There was at one point where he did Carson on Carson in front of Carson, and didn't say a word. He just did all the little ticks.
Right. Until Carson said, "Will you knock it off?"
I think Carson fell off his seat.
Yeah, it's a little bit dodgy doing it in front of the people. I have a policy that I don't do an impression of a celebrity for a celebrity.
Have you ever had to? Has there ever been an occasion where you were doing it and they happened to be there, or?
Actually, I think Ron Howard was in the theater one time, long time ago, back in New York where we first met, when I was doing one of my first one-man shows in 1985. And I think Ron Howard was there, and I think I did his freaking voice because it came up like in that Shakespeare thing where people would yell it out, and somebody yelled it out. Ha! Thanks a lot. And but he's always been very kind. He's always been.
He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
So, and what about? And Rich Little? It's said the story goes that Rich, actually, when David Niven was dying, that Rich Little did his entire voice in Pink Panther movie.
Wow, his entire voice.
He did.
I haven't heard that he did that. I find that a little hard to believe, but maybe it's true.
Much of it, because David Niven did not sound like David Niven when they did that.
You're going to send me to the Pink Panther, and really, I'm going to listen. I never noticed that before, but it's possible. I know he probably did a lot of voice replacement for a lot of actors. I mean, you know, it's just good to have someone to do that. I'm sure any day now that's going to be replaced by software. Like in our show, Impress Me, we had that conceit that there was a device that would be able to just talk into your phone. And and it would translate into any celebrity you wanted. And I think that's probably about 10 minutes away. But
Actually,
or less.
Adobe has developed that software. You type it in, and and it actually doesn't do the impressionist's voice. It does the actual voice. It's like
it draws from a file of.
Here's Obama. So you take, the more you have, the better it is. You take an hour of Obama from saying different sounds, make sure he says all the phonemes, and then you type. And Adobe opted not to put it on the market, very wisely, I think.
Thank God.
But it exists.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, that's the way everything's going. So many industries have been changed by just that exact same dynamic. So I'm not surprised. But, in a live show, it's great to see someone do it. It's kind of marvelous, and see them change personalities, switch on a dime like that. It's very exciting. I think audiences love it. And if they don't, well, they know what they can do about it.
It must be hard to do someone like, at one point you decided not to do Robin Williams for a while, and then obviously you've done it a little bit, because you played the genie on some of the Disney stuff, including the series, I guess.
Not the series, no.
No, not the series.
That was Dan Castellaneta.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. But there were a couple, for somebody like Robin Williams, who spoke so fast and his mind worked so quickly, is it hard to do that sort of impression as opposed to somebody that's
pretend you're a genius? Yes, it's very hard to pretend that you're a genius. I can tell you, of that particular stamp, it's very, very hard. So that's why I normally do just the Robin Williams who's kind of like the acting Robin Williams, not just the crazy, fantastic, off-the-wall, brilliant stage performer or improv guy. Even though I like to do improv myself, but I have different, I don't know, he had a lot of great shtick that he did. It was just fantastic, which I haven't mastered. There are some other terrific impressionists. Jamie Costa is a young man who does a fantastic Robin Williams. Frank Caliendo does a great Robin Williams. In that vein, of the stand-up Robin Williams. It's a taste thing with me, because what I loved most about Robin Williams was him as an actor.
Yeah.
And his dramatic stuff, or his, quieter stuff. The stand-up comedy, to me, I can appreciate it, but it's not my favorite aspect of that great performer.
I was there when he did the Metropolitan Opera House back in the 80s. And the show on HBO was about an hour long, but he did like 2.5 hours. And the next day, I felt like I had done 8,000 sit-ups. Women were wetting themselves all over. Wow. I mean, it was literally that funny. I've never seen it like that.
Probably still mopping up sections of that Metropolitan Opera. Get the Swiffers. Robin's in town.
Who's the most challenging impression that you've done?
I don't know. The next one my agent sends to me and says, "Can you do this guy?" I find Obama very difficult to do, because you have to put your voice, at least I do, in a different part of my face. So I'll do something mechanically inside this chamber look, it's just one of those things. Excuse me.
Well, that is tough.
It's hard. There you go. It's a difficult impression.
I once asked Gilbert Gottfried if it was hard to do his on-stage persona voice.
Gilbert Gottfried, is it hard to do this?
He said, I said, does it hurt? He said, what do you think?
What do you think?
Hard to drive and be Gilbert Gottfried.
Well, he doesn't drive, so that's a, because he's got, let me tell you! I can do that.
His eyes closed so tight.
Well, when he's doing the performance, but he's a sweet guy. Did you see the doc on him? The documentary about?
No, I'd like to see it.
It is.
I know
very
my mother just did an interview on his show. I don't.
Oh my gosh!
Who it was, but his podcast. Yeah.
Well, speaking of your mom, I wanted to bring. Speaking of your mom, I wanted to bring her up on this. There's you and your mom, and obviously beloved. You had to share your mom with everybody on the planet. It seems like.
Yep. Happily so.
What was it? And the list of people that she worked with. I mean, I was doing a little research today. Clark Gable and Cary Grant and Doris Day and Gracie Allen, for Pete's sake. I mean, it's just like amazing people that your mom got to work with even before Happy Days ever showed up. Can you hear me? Did we lose you? You got stiff. Okay, we're gonna bring back Mr. Meskimen in just a second.
There we
there
go.
you go. You're back. Welcome
Sorry,
back.
we had a solar flare. She's had a wonderful career, 66 years an actress, beloved by millions, and recognized everywhere she goes. And she's got her book coming out. There it is, My Days, Happy and Otherwise, about her life. And I really recommend people go on Amazon and pre-order it. It's coming out, I think, at the end of this month. And it's a really interesting, warm story about a girl who grew up in Minnesota, and just by age 15, she knew what she wanted to do. She wanted to be an actress. She wanted to be in movies. And her parents moved to San Diego during the war, and she started to do theater. And miraculously, she has this charmed, kind of interesting career. Talks about her marriage to my father, and which did not end happily, and raising 2 kids on her own, and finally, manipulating things so that she would get this audition for Gary Marshall, who chose her against, I think, the wishes of the network, to be this mom in this pilot he was doing. And it changed her life and our lives, and I think made the world a better place.
Everybody loved that show. I mean, I don't know anybody who did not like Happy Days. We have another caller, as it were. So I'm going to bring on...
God.
Who knew? Who knew? Okay, I'm going to bring on the caller now. This is Rachel from New Jersey.
Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Rachel, what's your question?
Well, actually, I was curious about I caught a little bit of it. You talking about Obama and how hard it is to do him. I'm curious if is there like one person you've just never quite been able to get it all.
Most people I can't do. I was telling David, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I can do about 70. So that's a very small percentage. But there are people that, like celebrities, that I continue to struggle with, or I wish I could do, and for various reasons, I have this instrument, and I have to get all the different sounds out of this instrument, and some I just can't hit. I haven't got the whoa. Are you on a cruise ship? Did you just take a big wave?
You know what? The phone. I'm seeing like a little smidge of the screen, so I was trying to get.
Turn your phone.
I was turned like
there
this, but I was only seeing. Now I'm getting.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
So I have friends that do Jeff Bridges, and I wish I could do Jeff Bridges' voice. It's a great voice. I just haven't cracked it yet.
And so when you're trying to teach someone else how to do this, I mean, I've seen, there are videos of you out there taking ordinary people and trying to teach them.
Yeah.
What's the process of trying to teach somebody who doesn't normally do it?
It's tricky. I mean, I have to kind of listen to their voice. I want to always give them a win. I don't want to have them hit the wall and go, oh, this is just too hard. So I try to give them, like, the first thing to do is like, well, what celebrity do you like so much that you can kind of hear them in your head or in your mind? Like for you, for example, is there a celebrity, a woman that you know so well and you love?
No, I'm trying to think.
From your childhood, maybe, from movies, or when you were growing up, or I mean, it could be anything, from The Wizard of Oz or anybody.
I was actually thinking. I mean, I used to try to try to do The Witch.
Oh, okay, good. Margaret Hamilton, good. So what can you hear her in your mind when you kind of summon up that file?
Yeah,
I can hear her. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. You can hear it, right? I can even see her green face. In my mind's eye.
I can see her melting. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you?
I don't know. I see her selling coffee, generally.
Did she do that?
Yeah, she was in the Maxwell House commercials. Years later, she played Cora in the 70s.
I forgot that. But I'm sorry, I forgot your name again. What is your name?
Rachel.
Rachel, my dear. So what do you hear her saying in your mind? What line do you hear? Or sound or laugh?
I'll get
cackle?
I'll get oh well. I'll get you,
my pretty. Yeah, so what does it sound like when you hear her say it?
I'll get you, my pretty. And your little dog,
That's awesome.
too.
That's awesome. That sounds just like her.
Get a couple more of those, and you'll be on stage in no time.
Yeah, maybe someday, right?
Well, but that's basically the mechanics of it, Rachel. I always like for me, the celebrities I do are generally the celebrities I admire or I think are cool, not the ones I hate or can't bear, or, not that many that I do, but that I hate or feel that strongly about. But if I'm like, then that's not an impression that's very easy for me. But if someone I dig a lot, then it's like, or a performance or a character that I like a lot, then it becomes very easy. And with some of these ones from our childhood, it's like it's part of you, right?
Well, but that one is so exaggerated.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, that makes it a little easier because she is already playing a character. So she's sort of compressed her own personality into another smaller personality.
I have to imagine.
It's all just for fun.
I have to imagine that presidents are a must-do. Like, you can't not do a president.
Presidents are somewhat easier to do because they're like Margaret Hamilton. They're doing an impression of somebody else. They're desperately trying to sound like someone authentic.
Rachel, any more questions? Thank you for calling in.
No, I appreciate it. It's really interesting insights.
Have you watched Impress Me on Amazon by any chance?
I have not, but I'm looking forward to it.
Check it out because it's about this exact topic and about ordinary people doing impressions and professionals and sound of voices and stuff like that.
Do you feel like by doing a show like that about sort of the striving for, like you said, you sort of came out of those conversations of you want to be taken seriously and you don't want to just be thought of as that guy who does it. Do you feel like this is just cementing it, though?
Yes. To be honest, yes. But I'm willing to take that chance, I guess. Thank you. What can you do? Why fight it? I mean, if this is what people like to see me do, then I'm not going to force them to. Did you get
in trouble in school for doing this, like imitating the teachers as a kid?
No, I never got caught. I was a bit shy about it, and I was also wary that in school if you imitate the teachers, it really depends on the teacher whether you're going to live to graduation.
Mm-hmm.
So I was cautious about it. I would imitate the teachers to my friends, who I knew would not rat me out. How about you? Did you ever do imitations of your teachers?
No. I think more writing snide notes.
Well, they say writing snide notes is the purest form of flattery.
I was too well behaved in school. You obviously had a lot more fun.
Well, I was sneaky about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the show.
Rachel, thank you for calling in.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for calling in. Great to meet you.
Okay.
There she goes. She shrunk into the distance.
She shrunk into the ether. That's right. So, Jim, this has been really fun. Thank you for staying with us. Have we missed anything? Is there anything that we need to discuss that we haven't discussed?
We talked about my mother's book. We talked
about your mother's book
on Amazon Prime, season 1.
Is there going to be a season 2?
Oh, you know what I would love to recommend to people, particularly people who are interested in acting, as I am. Go to www.theactingcenterla.com. That's my wife's school, and it's where I study and where my daughter teaches. And it's a kind of a family business, but it is the best acting school in the world, I think. The nation.
One of my biggest regrets is that you moved to LA, because I loved playing with you. Jim and I used to do some voiceover work. He would do voiceovers. I would produce him. He would 99 out of 100 times he would give me exactly what I wanted, and he wouldn't stop trying until I got. And he wasn't doing impressions for me back then. You were just sort of doing your voice for a channel that no longer exists. It was called Ha, and it became Comedy Central.
That's right. We were the seed of Comedy Central. That's right. It was a lot of fun. That's where we met. Yeah. Well, anyway, anybody who comes to LA, usually they hook up with some sort of an acting school. The great thing about the Acting Center in Sherman Oaks is that they don't evaluate or criticize the students. So you're allowed to just kind of work on parts, work on different aspects of developing a character and creating characters, and nobody will ever cut your legs out from under you or make you feel self-conscious or, you know, kind of in a snarky way suggest you should have done something else. That's all been completely taken out of the formula, and you're allowed to just sort of make your own artistic judgments about things, and that is actually the best and most correct way to teach acting, and that's what they do at the Acting Center in LA. www.theactingcenterla.com.
When are you going to put it online?
They're working on it right now.
Good, because, you know, I would take a course.
Yeah.
Certainly. Okay. We did do one thing on the phone the other day. I don't know. Have you prepped a little Archie Bunker at all?
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Gee, guys like us, we had made.
Those were the days. And you knew where you were then.
Girls were girls and men were men.
Mister, we could use a man like Herbert Hoover again.
Didn't need no welfare state.
Everybody pulled his weight.
G.R.O.
was sour and great. Those were the days.
G.R.O. LaSalle ran great. I had to look that up. What the hell? When I heard that for years, I go, what's the LaSalle run great?
Well, nobody knew what the line was for the longest time. And then they re-recorded it because the first couple of seasons, no one knew what the hell she was saying.
G.R.O. LaSalle run great. It sounds like, you know, a company out of Memphis.
Yeah, I think LaSalle was a radio. I think it was a kind of radio.
No, it was a car.
Oh, it was a car. Okay.
LaSalle automobile, yeah.
LaSalle, okay. Well, there you go.
It ran great, yeah.
We'll have to ask Norman
Thanks,
Lear.
David.
Jim, thank you so much. I want to thank
Pleasure.
Jim Meskimen, and don't forget to pick up a copy of his mom's book. It's coming out soon. And
pre-order it on Amazon now.
Pre-order it on Amazon now. And thank you to the people who called in. We are part of the Hamina Network, which is the home of interactive TV. You think
That's
I could?
Hilarious.
You like that?
Hamina.
That's exactly right. Do you think I could get Morgan Freeman to do like a "This is Hamina"?
This is Hamina. You're listening to the Hamina Network.
How about James Earl Jones? But he's not at CNN anymore.
No. He's now announcing the news service of the Death Star.
Jim, thank you very much. Next week, my guest is going to be Arlen Schumer. We are going to talk about all things Black Panther, including how it was created by Jack Kirby with Stan Lee, and how it turned into a movie and how it turned into a $1 billion business. I hope you'll call in and watch. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Okay.